Well, one of the business leaders at the Commonwealth Business Council meet addressing the opportunities and challenges for partnering in global growth is the British Minister for State and Trade and Investment and former Group Chairman of HSBC, Lord Stephen Green. I spoke with him earlier. Lord Green, welcome to Late Line Business.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Lord Green, I'm just wondering what comes out of a big business session like this. I know we've had the head of the Commonwealth Business Council, Dr. Cowell, who said that there will be a new mining initiative coming from our government to target skill shortages in resources sectors, but with more contact between developing countries and developed countries. Have you heard much about that?
I haven't specifically, and remember the forum has only just got started. But I tell you what's interesting about the Commonwealth Business Forum, and indeed about the Commonwealth itself, is for the 21st century. It's not an organisation you would invent in this day and age, but the fact is that it exists, and it brings together nations of really quite different stages of economic development. You have the mature economies of Australia, Canada, Britain. You have emerging powers like India. You have 30 members of the Commonwealth from Africa, representing a part of the world which is also now beginning to show clear growth momentum, and the trading relationships amongst these countries are growing very fast. So what the Commonwealth functions as, this may not have been what it was intended to when it was originally established, but it is now a very successful meeting point for businesses. And I tell you what will come out of today's forum. Well, I can't tell you in terms of specific deals, but I can tell you that there'll be all kinds of conversations which are about building commercial relationships across a whole variety of different trading patterns.
Nurul Rubini is at the conference in Perth and has spoken today. Now, he is talking about a more than 50% chance that over the next 12 months there's going to be another recession in most advanced economies.
Well, I think there are many different perspectives on the world economy, of course, and the situation's complicated. I myself think that the important thing, and again speaking from a British point of view, is we have a very clear strategy which we are going to stick to, which has to do with the strengthening of the financial environment and the rebalancing of the economy and the engagement much more broadly by British business in world trade, because that's the only sure way of stable economic growth in the years to come. And that's what we're going to stick to.
China, of course, is not a member of the Commonwealth, but there are 50 China delegates at the forum. I guess this really reflects how China is going to dominate the resource industry.
It is clear that China is going to be a huge net buyer of resources for a long time to come. It won't be the only one. Of course, India will also be a major resources player. And it's very clear that China has an interest in the resource markets, both in Australia itself, of course, and in Africa and elsewhere.
Fund manager BlackRock today was warning about rising nationalism, giving examples of Mugabe's Zimbabwe and indeed Chavez in Venezuela. There is a lot of political risk in some of these African countries when it comes to developing resources. I'm thinking of the Côte d'Ivoire, Guinea, those sorts of areas.
You can also point to very interesting success stories in Africa. The growth of Ghana, the growth of Uganda, the growth of Botswana, and a number of other examples. I mean, something like 7 out of the 10 fastest growing countries of the world at the moment are African. So I think it's a very mixed pattern, but actually overall the continent is showing clear growth momentum.
There are, I understand, $100 billion worth of global projects listed at the conference seeking investments. Some of them public projects, some private. I was very interested to see that several of the private projects are agricultural, not just mining, things like food processing plants.
Absolutely. I mean, the world needs a lot of things. We have an increasingly complex global economy where people's needs, particularly as you find greater levels of affluence around the world, become more complex, but they include agribusiness. There are opportunities in minerals, in hydrocarbons, in agribusiness, of course, as well as in manufacturing, and importantly in services. We should never forget that as the world gets more affluent, there will be more and more of the world's output coming in the form of services of one sort or another.
There is, of course, a focus on clean energy at the conference. But are you very enthusiastic about clean energy and investment in clean energy around the world? I'm thinking of Britain's first big clean coal project now wobbling because potentially lack of government funding. Also, the great flagship California project that had a lot of US federal funding behind it going to the wall.
I am optimistic because I think the demands, the opportunities are so huge on the world scale, as well as in any individual country. It's very difficult to find a single country these days that won't say that an important part of its challenge over the next 10, 20, 30 years is to move towards a low carbon growth model. And that creates opportunities in renewable energies, in efficiency, in domestic heating, and in manufacturing production, in all sorts of ways, in all sorts of technologies. There will be a growing demand to apply human creativity, if you will, human inventiveness to the solution of the low carbon challenge which affects us all. So you can point to any given project that stutters for one reason or another. Overall, there's a huge opportunity and clear momentum in this sector too.
Lord Green, I thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.